Hello, everybody. Tonight is the December of 20th, right before Christmas. So we're in full force tonight. And we're going to do the usual thing, which means go all around the table. Everyone's going to contribute. But actually, we only have two people in queue for tonight to talk about robots and robot-y things. And after that, we'll go to open mic and maybe brainstorming for what people want to do next year. But those are the only ideas we have so far. So without further ado, we have in queue, we have, let's see, John in the International Space Station, and we have unknown Mr. Ackley out in Hawaii somewhere, Puerto Rico maybe, and the rest of us in our usual haunts. Let's see, Michael Everson is he's also in the International Space Station. You guys,
yes.
Okay, so we got Ray and Michael. So Ray, take it away.
Okay. All right. I think Doug had a different version of this, but this is it's the Max Dock, D-O-C-K, and it's based on the Kendrite 210A, which turns out to be a processor that's pretty good for, kind of edge, edge computing, I guess you would refer to it as, for machine language. So it's pretty much self-contained. It's got the LCD on one side. It's got basically the board on the other side. You can stick different cameras on it. This one is one with a long extension on it, and this is hinged, so you can open it up and either face the camera that way or pull it back. And
when you say edge computing, did you really mean edge detection?
Nope. No. Kind of like computing on the edge. It's, I guess, not
edgy computing.
Edgy computing, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Cutting edge.
I guess using devices like this to do the computations with versus a laptop or some other, device. Anyway,
it's out of the newfangled IoT vocabulary. There's all this new vocabulary: IoT, edge computing, etc. Right?
Oh,
yeah.
It's a buzzword. I got you.
Anyway, so I thought about this for the last contest that we had. Doug did all kinds of work. Classifying and I think you were doing more object detection, which says where is whatever you're looking for in the image. This is just classification, so it doesn't include where it is in the object. So I was gonna, and this has its own IDE, and I was going to show you that.
What's the name of this thing, Ray? I couldn't find Max.210A.
Yeah, it's referred to as it's Max. It's like MAIX, and then DOCK.
Oh,
2 words, and it's a SciPEED project, which is SIPEED.
There we go. Okay.
Anyway, and there's a later version that's supposed to be much better than this one. I will. Okay. So there it goes. Okay. So hopefully you can see the IDE. This is a self-learning classifier example. I looked at 3 different classes, and I'm going to point the camera at the classes here. The first one is the cone. That's class 1. This one should be class 2, and it's just a box, so I can kind of move it around. There is an object that looks like the first class over here on the table, so if it flips back and forth, if I go too far to one side, that's probably why. And then there's a third object. Anyway, so that should be showing class 3 on the screen as I move it around. And if I flip over there, that's that orange object that looks like similar to the cone in color. So it seems like it's picking that out. Anyway, so those are the three different classes. Something blue, something orange, and something green. And so it was fairly easy to do. You just basically take a snapshot of what you want each of the classes, and then you do just 5 samples of it, and it seems to pick them out pretty reliably. So very simple, takes, less than a minute to set it up. Okay, where is it? Yeah, this is the kind of the next generation one, and they're calling this the Max 2 dock. So MAIX, like Roman numeral 2 and then DOCK. DigiKey sells it for $44. I think SciPete sells it for a lot less.
But you have shipping.
Yeah. Let's see, where is it?
AliExpress has it for $15.
Oh, they do? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, I think in their website it's 37, but it's out of stock. Anyway, there is the Max 2 dock is supposed to be much more powerful. Let's see if I can find my little comparison. So anyway, the guy that wrote this article about this, he was comparing the Max 1, which is based on the K210, to, basically a Raspberry Pi. He was saying Raspberry Pi 4 can do, 13 to 15 frames per second, running MobileNet 2 with an input resolution of 300 by 300. And you can do a 320 by 240 MobileNet, or using MobileNet at just a little bit faster frame rate with the K210, 15 to 17. But they're, so these have limitations on the input images, only, 320 by 240, 300 by 300. And the next generation is supposed to go up to like a 1080p image. It can use much bigger, like ResNet 18, which is supposed to be much larger models than MobileNet and stuff like that. So, and the costs seem pretty reasonable. I think Jetson Nanos, I want to say, are around $100. So it's, they're kind of standalone devices. You don't have nearly the power consumption that you would with a Raspberry Pi or a Jetson Nano. So you can hook them up to a microprocessor, kind of like you can, like the Pixie Cam or the OpenMV H7. So those are pretty good devices. This one, it's been out, I think, a little less than a year, as far as I could tell. It's based on, I think, the All-Winner 831. There is another device out that's, well, I guess the maximum frequency on this one was like a gigahertz. And this one is like 1.4 gigahertz. Whoops. Oh, well, that's the Jetson Nano. There's another part that actually, this one, the R329, that goes up to 1.5 gigahertz. And I think, yeah, that's basically a table comparing the two devices that are used in the Max 2, the All-Winner V831 and the All-Winner R329. And so there's the 1 gig and 1.5 gig, much more memory, 64 megabytes, 256 megabytes. What else was significant? I think those were the main things, but as far as, speed and performance and stuff like that, but they're kind of unique devices. I kind of wonder if we couldn't use them for, the next time we have that, our contest, and they might be good devices. They're relatively inexpensive. It was very easy to train it. It probably wouldn't have a hard time picking out an orange cone in a green grass field, or maybe even an orangey colored, grass field if the grass is dying. But anyway, I thought it was kind of neat. I don't know if in this group, I think Doug Grace may be the only other one that had one.
If you're gonna go with what is the one that you said, the 120?
Oh, the Kendrite
120.
I
would say just go with the maxi bit, because that's the cheapest solution if you're going to use that chip.
Yeah.
Now, the one that I had was the Go.
Yeah.
Now the Go, you can put the camera on either this direction or this direction. It has a nice display on it, and it has a battery in it.
Ah.
And it's Wi-Fi. So the intent when they said Go was that, it would be independent. So, I played with it a little bit, and like I say, the bit did everything I was going to do with those. So this guy kind of was like overkill, and he ended up in this thing here. It's a case. It doesn't have any tripod things, but that's where it ended up. So,
so you're saying you didn't do much with it?
Well, I played with it, but when I found out that the bit, which you could at that time get for $15 with a camera, could do the whole do everything that the other guy could do, except it wasn't Wi-Fi. It didn't have a battery, didn't have as nice a display, but they were using the same software. So I just went with, my thought was, I shouldn't have bought the Go for what I wanted. So, but I don't know, if you're starting to move into nicer and more powerful things, the thing I found with that particular company is the documentation is there, but it's a little hard to get through it, and they're always lagging. Their interface, I believe, is a copy of the camera, the OpenMV.
Yeah, it's similar to it.
And so you're always ending up with them it's like they're catching up all the time, and they don't update their documentation. So what you can do is you can go to the OpenMV and say, well, hey, OpenMV has this function. Well, then you can go take your max bit and try that function. And darn if it doesn't work. They just haven't said that they haven't got the documentation up to date yet. Yeah. So a lot of what appear to be initially as deficiencies are simply documentation that hasn't been updated.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely lags, and I think they rely on the community to develop a lot of that support and examples and
and then
a lot
again,
of English.
Yeah, well, the other problem you run into is their English documentation is always behind their Chinese documentation.
But they're so cheap.
They're so cheap. If you, like you said, this guy originally sold for $15.
Yeah.
It had a camera on it and a display. And it's like, whoa, and I still have, I still have plans for the bits, but the Go probably won't ever get used.
Yep.
So,
well, I kind of thought of it as, for our last contest, we could have probably used that, and you could have saved yourself probably hours of training time, and it
Oh,
probably
that
would
was
have
fun.
worked just
That
as
was
good.
fun. That was really fun, and I learned a lot. So that's not a problem.
Yeah.
And I still think that, well, it's kind of hard to say because what you're really looking at with the OD light, if you're not, last contest, I didn't use the depth information.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been an oak. An oak would have worked just as fine.
Uh-huh.
And really what you were looking at was the Movidius chip. So if you have a Movidius stick, or stick 2 or whatever they call it, you know,
Neural compute stick.
yeah, neural compute stick, you can go ahead, you could do the same thing with a Raspberry Pi in theory.
Yeah, that's what I used for my my Halloween skull project.
Yeah.
To, get the problem is they don't sell those anymore. They discontinued the neural compute stick,
Oh,
and
did they?
I'm looking
didn't
for
know that.
suitable alternatives.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, like I say, in that case, the OD light gets even more pretty
Mhm.
because that's what it essentially has that built in. And
Anyway, so I thought it was kind of a neat thing. I upgraded the software in mine. It was old, and the firmware and then the IDE both were, needed upgrading or updating. And like I said, it just took a few minutes to run that example, and seems functional. You could probably use it on even on an indoor robot. Can soccer to recognize cans.
yeah. Well, that sounds like another. What is it? Kendrite? What is it again?
Yeah, Kendrite.
Kendrite based board is
210.
the Huffy lens, and that has that function too, right? Where you self train the camera right there, okay?
Yep.
And then it's persistent, I believe. So it's not like you have to train it every time, but that's a nice little piece of kit. If you're just kind of easing into this, the Huffy lens is and that's by DF Robot. But it's actually, I believe, it's one of their boards slightly repackaged and relabeled.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it's a Max.
One of the SIP boards. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those boards, but it's been. They developed the software side of it. Now it sounds like it's come complete circle, and they're on your new board. It sounds like they're using the same type of model, where you just sit there and take a few images and it learns it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't the Max 2 dock with the faster chip. I think that was like $90 on Amazon, and the slower one that's been out for around a year. I'm not certain exactly when it came out, but half or maybe 2/3 of that price.
Amazon's a very expensive way to buy those type of boards.
Stuff. Yeah, go to AliExpress, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. What did you say, Carl? It was $15 to $20, $30. What was it? You're muted, Carl. You're muted.
I put a link in for $15 in Ollie. So
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
is that just for the core
cheap.
board, or is that for like all 3 parts?
Yeah, everything.
Because when I looked it up in the Canadian side, it was $23. They showed an ad, Canadian. Mm-hmm. But when I looked into the details, if you want to get all 3 boards or 3 parts for it, it's $68.
Yeah, might be.
Yeah, AliExpress tends to do that. It's like I was looking.
The thing you posted there doesn't bring up what you're saying.
All right. Well, I got the wrong one. It's
like watches on AliExpress. You see one for $5, and Oh wow, $5. You know, you
They're
click on
40
it. It's for the band for the watch. not for the
$45.
watch, you know?
Try this link. Yeah, I was just skimming based on what Ray showed to see if I could catch up with him. So
Yep.
that has the core board, the floorboard, and a camera and LCD. This bundle,
So what's
40
that one cost?
$44.
44. Yeah.
So it's 44
So-
US dollars is 63 Canadian dollars.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Damn, everything's more expensive in Canada.
But Santa's sleigh is free. Where is Santa these days? We need.
Yeah, so that, in a Chris Nutter, category, that might be something, do I really need this? It's probably not, but it's Christmas and
Oh, that's the game. This is the game that coaxed Chris into buying stuff. Whoa,
no, that was his rationale for,
this is
buying
so cool. You wouldn't believe what it can do, Chris.
yeah, that's right.
Your closet is just bare without one of these.
That's right. I've got
Right,
plenty of
the
plastic
Dyson.
containers with open
Yeah.
compartments,
Are you saying I should go into sales?
No, purchasing. The buyer's side, Chris. That's what you need. Although I think there's a lot of people in this meeting that belong in the buyer's club, but
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
for sure.
in the
Yeah,
the shelf stalkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, in distribution, they used to call people like that collectors. They collect stuff, but they don't do much with it.
Yeah.
In another life, we would call this hoarding. But okay.
Yes, yes, I like that. Yeah.
I resemble that.
Let's not fuel our wives. They don't need any help in that
It's
regard.
electronic hoarding, though, so
Okay.
it's better.
Makes it okay.
It's not like you're hoarding old newspapers or something,
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so I thought I'd share it with the group and see if there's
Yeah.
any interest in it. And it's,
Well, hook it up and show us driving a robot around,
yeah.
Ray. Cool. All right.
It looks like you could do it. So
Just a matter of time.
anyway, that's all I had.
All right. Mr. Michael, what you got?
Well, I talked about this a few weeks ago. We actually got in a pretty good conversation about this. I got me a Pico W project kit. It's your typical kits.
So Kepler, nothing to do with the telescope or
Well, no sun. I don't know what. I have no idea what that means. What that is. Sun Founder made this, so you've heard of them.
Yeah. Sunfounder's a good company.
Yeah. So, but I don't know what the Kepler kit means. I do know, it's got all it's got all the sensors and stuff in it.
Yeah, I looked that up after you mentioned it, and they were sold out.
And I've been waiting for 3 weeks to get this. And I'm going to go through this electrical engineer, Paul McCorder, is going to do a series on starting about 2 weeks. Going to start a series working through this kit with MicroPython. We talked about that. So I'm excited about learning that MicroPython, and we'll see what happens with that. That's going to be one of my projects next year. Also, when I was going to be a judge at that competition, but I come down with bronchitis. I've been in bed for the last 2 weeks. I'm just now getting out of bed. I finally went to the doctor, and he put me on, stuff. So, man, it knocked me down. So I've been kind of doing nothing for the last couple of weeks. Do y'all remember this big gear I made?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember we talked about using a NEMA 17 stepper on that? We talked about that a little bit. I'm just going to go with one of these cheap motors and see what happens to drive it. it seems to spin it pretty easy without anything on it. I'm just going to try to use one of our typical yellow cheap motors. So that's what I got going on.
The little green
Depends on how
friction
much
drive.
torque you need to twist that thing around.
Huh?
Is that a green friction drive?
Another
No, I actually did drive it. That's a gear. It's hard. My upload speed, I've been frustrated with this, but I don't have a lot of upload speed. That's why my videos are so grainy. Because I run some tests and I finally figured out it's just, I'm not getting the upload speed to get some decent video out. But anyway, no, this is a gear. I forget what kind of gear it is. It's a V shape.
Herringbone.
Yeah. So I'm using that. They use them on them 3D printers, them rip wraps a lot.
Yeah.
And I did actually turn this I put a tire on, one of those robot tires that go on these, and turn this just fine. I could have just used friction, but I made a little gear for it, and we'll see what happens. If it doesn't work, I'll go back to my NEMA. But this is all about, the journey anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they use those herringbone gears because if you have just a helical gear and you have a lot of force on it, it can actually push those two gears up or down. It slides on the teeth of the helix, but
Yeah, it tries to ride up, doesn't it?
It's like certain underwear; it'll ride up.
That's
You don't want that.
don't make me laugh.
TMI.
You're saying it's the wedgie of gears. Okay.
It's the wedgie of gears, exactly.
Anti-wedgie gearing. Yeah.
But that's what I'm using, so we'll see what happens. I'm in the process of that, and I guess that's about all I want to. I'm kind of excited about that. That Pico W is, it's Wi-Fi, so whenever you make changes to the code, you don't have to plug it in like an Arduino or whatever. So that's going to be a lot of fun for me, and I think that's a big selling point for that Pico. And I don't know if I'm going to run my new rope.
Wow.
I've got a big old prototype set up right now. That's pretty big.
Oh yeah.
It's the reason why it's all different colors is because I'm trying to use it. This is just my prototype. I'm trying to use up all my old filament that's about 5 years old.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. So I guess that's about all I got to say.
Good. Can you share a link to this course that you mentioned?
Yeah. I'm going to give him. It's going to give you his. He hasn't started this particular course yet, but I'll give it
one
to
of the
his
guys
name.
at the makerspace.
No, this is just a YouTube guy.
Oh, okay.
One of the many YouTube guys out there.
Is there a charge for it, or is it just you get the kit and you attend it?
Say again?
Is there a charge for it?
No, he's just free. He asks you on Patreon if you want to. And I do. I've done with Native with him before on other stuff. Who's that guy, Drone Bot? You know that Drone Bot guy?
He's teaching a course.
No, but this guy knows old Drone Bot pretty good.
Okay.
Remember y'all mentioned him.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this is the link. He's actually done a Jetson series, and he's done a lot of series. So
Yeah.
he's just a retired engineer. So there it is. And he hadn't started. Yeah. He's got tons of stuff. And he loves iced coffee. So he lives in Africa on a Nile River. So he's got a lot, really interesting guy.
I just posted the link where he talks about the upcoming series on
Okay.
Pico.
Oh, cool. So, David, are you going through that as well?
I'm thinking about it. It sounds
Nice.
interesting. He's claiming that Pico Pi W will replace the Arduino.
Yes, he is.
Huh.
But he's excited. So anyway, that's about all I got. I guess for next year, I can tell that. Can I just tell my next year's plans now, or
Yeah.
wait till
I
yeah,
don't think we have any. I think this is open mic night. So
yeah. So I want to try to do the 5 can. We gonna do that next year? The cans are just a 5 can.
It's
That
not
means
6 can, but that's okay.
We-
You can do 5
yeah.
cans if you want.
Okay.
I want to do 4 cans.
Well, I guess what there's a good, interesting twist on it. We could do something like how many cans you can pop out in a minute, something like that. If we wanted to go there, but people, that's a really good training one for people, and they learn a lot if they can do it. And so, if there's a lot of new people involved, then we usually do the not the soccer, but just get the cans and take them out.
Right.
6 can.
But if it's just people who have already done it a couple of times and they want some excitement, then we'll go to the soccer. So my thought is, if you want to get into it, and I know that, oh gosh, Jack, he's done it twice, and I think last time he got 5 out of 6, or he might have got 6. I don't remember. But he might want another. I don't think we're ready for soccer as a club yet. I think we probably need to back away from it. But that's just my personal experience. Hey, by the way, yeah,
On 6
That's
can,
another-
I
Yes,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
use compressed air and kick the can into the goal.
yeah. Hey, I've been thinking some things like that, Ray. But there's no question that Scott has got an excellent robot, and he keeps getting faster and faster. And
I don't know if he's getting faster. He's just a little bit better than everybody else.
no, I think if you go, you can always go to the Hall of Fame and
Oh,
look at it. And I believe he was faster.
he
So,
was.
Yeah. So
He's got to have some upper limit of speed there, though.
yeah. Oh yeah. So, but it would be nice to give him some competition. That's probably the major incentive, right, Ray?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what we really
Cheetah.
want to do.
Kick in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll see. I'm assuming everybody would be up for a May-ish time frame competition, and we could set it up.
Yeah, I went to Harbor Freight. I can get a small compressor that would, about the size of our robots for like $70, which not bad,
Well,
Plug it in.
I actually
Power
saw a compressor. What was it? What was this for? But it was about the size of a one of those coffee cups that you get at Starbucks. Yeah, I can't remember what the original purpose is for it, but I thought to myself, wow, that's really cool. I mean, it works off of 5 volts USB, the whole works,
Wow.
I mean, so I can't think of what the name. If it shows up again, I'll send you a note. But it's small, and it's for some specific purpose. I don't know, drying hair or something. I don't know what it's for, but it's not that, but whatever it is for. But I thought to myself, it would be real. Oh, wait a minute. No, I know what it is. It's a portable air gun compressor.
Oh,
Go out on Amazon and look for it. It's meant, like I say, it's got, usually you mount the gun right on the top of it. It just screws right into it, so that you can kind of get the feel for how big it would be.
oh, I know some of the Pazload guns actually used a fuel cartridge, and they there's a little you pulled the trigger and it generated a little spark, and actually
And the purpose of this gun is what?
Oh, the Pazload
Those
gun
are
was a framing nailer.
nailers. So the
Yeah.
idea that you use a battery pack and then some form of not propellant but fuel.
Gas, yeah, I don't know what it was. Butane, maybe propane, I don't know.
Yeah. So,
But it would-
so that you don't have to drag around a cord, and these things are good for pretty much the day with one battery.
Yeah. And very powerful. I mean, it shoved a 3.5-inch framing nail, buried it in the wood pretty much, and you could just bang on the wood all you wanted and it would keep up with you. And so very impressive, almost scary impressive. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, but it's probably a little too much. You'd probably be destroying cans with that much power.
The problem with it that we've seen where, the leaf blower and all of that was, it's not so much hitting it with enough force to move it, it's directing it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool if there was some way when you caught the can, you tilted it and you launched. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Otherwise, because how the bottom of those cans are kind of cupped.
Right.
You could just,
Yeah, I kind of did some experiments in my garage. If I, just with like an air nozzle on the end of the hose, and if I hit it on the top part of the can, it would tend to kind of like spin it, end over end. So, and it would go 20 feet, with just a quick shot of air on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I could. What?
Ray, if you shoot it like you're talking about, does it have to go under the top of the?
Yes, it has to go under
It's
the.
supposed to, yeah.
Can you bounce it? I mean, you can't
Yeah, you don't care about that. Yeah, you
You
can,
could
you can roll it.
figure out how to do it.
Yeah, the main thing is.
Directionality, yeah.
Yeah, you can't really be you can't be like shooting 2 or 3 of them at the same time.
No.
You have to go get one, shoot it, get one, shoot it type thing.
Well, that's
But
a lot faster than bringing it to the goal and coming out and finding the next one and bringing that to the goal. And
yeah.
it's one of those rare times to beat Scott.
Yeah.
rare and unique. It's different.
Mm.
Be really something cool.
Yeah, that's the guys that do the battleship. They had a lot of specific parts for doing that kind of stuff. They had like an accumulator and I don't know if you call it a wastegate, but it was a valve that you could trigger very quickly, and so you let some air into the accumulator and then let it out through this this very quick acting valve, and apparently it would hold the pressure, in the meantime it wouldn't leak out. And they were actually shooting like quarter inch ball bearings at each other's ships to try to sink them. And
Wow, lake. Yeah.
so,
So talk about specialized. They also have bilge pumps, right? So.
oh, they did? Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, from what I've seen. So we're talking about RC Warship Combat. There's these guys that make like 8 and 10 and 12-foot models of World War II battleships, and they outfit them with these air compressor fired cannons that shoot quarter-inch BBs, metal BBs.
Ball bearings, I think.
Metal ball bearings, yeah. And so from what I've read, I mean, they'll spend all afternoon trying to sink each other, and sure enough, they'll start to take on water. So the bilge pumps kick in, and you see them spraying the bilge pumps, firing the water out of the perforated hull. And then if they do sink, they have these air pillows or something, I guess, that they inflate to bring them back to the surface, so they don't have to go swimming to find it.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's pretty wild. It'd be fun to go just see it one day, but I haven't ever had the chance to do that yet.
Oh, where is this?
Around
They used to have
town,
meetings at the Makerspace, right?
they used to. Let's see if I can find a link. RC Warship Combat. There's a group in Dallas. I mean, it's a at least I think they're all over. Well, here's a URL to it.
Yeah, I was surprised to
It's
learn that the
updated
electronics
since
could take a little dunking in water and still survive. That was
Well, they seal them up, right? I mean, talk about
like a conformal coating or something.
specialized stuff. Yeah, conformal coating and watertight connectors and
It's a lot of work just to demolish in the middle of a pond.
oh, but think of how much fun it would be.
Oh, it'd be a blast.
Yeah.
If you add alligators to the pond, then it's a sport.
There you go. Old Nessie, right?
There
Here's
you
some
go.
videos.
It's a big hit in Florida, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, there they have the pythons that come up out of the water and just like
Yeah.
Lessie.
Wrap over your
Yeah. Yeah.
try
World
to choke
War
your
II
ship.
pythons.
Yeah.
That's the sea monster. Yeah.
Of course, they're radioactive. That's why they're so big. But
Yeah.
Forget where it was. I read a story about a month ago, and it was woman never returned from work. I forget what country it was. So they were scrounging all over. Finally, they found her shoes. And shortly later, they found a woman-sized lump in a python.
Well,
yeah, those things happen, don't they?
Oh, not up here.
Not in the North Pole where you are.
We have 5 inches of snow on the ground, so it's
All right.
and expecting more. I'm heading to Sault Ste. Marie on the weekend, or for the end of the week here, and they're expecting 10 inches on Friday.
well,
That's almost enough for you to get out the red sleigh, right?
Exactly. Oh, it'll be fun. It'll be slippery with the truck driving up there, but take our time this time. I've got something to bring up. You talked about hoarding parts.
Oh boy. Okay.
I've been.
Wheels.
There's the original wheel for one of those yellow motors, and I bought this guy. A little bit thinner, slightly smaller diameter. They were a little over $1 each.
Nice.
Let's say $2 with shipping. So I picked up some of those.
Where'd you get them at?
That, I believe, come off of Adafruit's site.
Yeah, I got some Adafruit wheels.
DigiKey in Canada. Just because the shipping is not bad with DigiKey, I think I paid $8 shipping. So I bought 6 wheels and $8 for shipping. And then I bought this guy, a little out of focus, a powered USB hub. So USB 3, I think it's 3.1, a powered USB hub for a Raspberry Pi.
okay.
And
Nice.
that was to try to get rid of some of my low voltage issues when I'm running a camera or whatever else.
There's a Adafruit wheel that fits those yellow. No, it's real thin.
They had a couple different ones. I couldn't find that one for cheap in Canada. And part of the problem with here is shipping. You buy a $2 wheel and it costs you, $30 to ship it.
Yeah, I don't think this was a cheap wheel though.
No.
Yeah.
But it does fit those, and to fit those yellow cheap motors, it's hard to find wheels that are,
Yeah.
good
These
wheels.
were $1.08 Canadian each.
That's pretty good.
So they were, I forget, 85 cents or something on Adafruit's site. And so it wasn't bad. But that's what I've been doing. Plans for next year, well, I want to try to, if you're going to have a 6-can competition in the spring in May, I'd like to try to do that.
Mhm.
So I'll probably build an arena here and set it up either in the garage or in the living room.
Pretty
And,
easy.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
just get some 1/4 inch underlay and paint it white or whatever and throw it on the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah, I think our course is 1/4 inch. No, it's actually underlayment. It's what is it? Layan? Luan?
Yeah, Luan or
Luan,
whatever it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lan?
Yeah, that's basically, I'm looking at using just same thing, mahogany underlay.
Yeah.
It's dirt cheap as far as buying it. Not very structurally strong, but it'll do the job. So I'm looking at trying to do that in May, a 6 can, and then as I said earlier this year, I'm hoping to do Dallas 2023 in November.
Yeah. You're actually coming down, right?
Yeah, actually trying to come down,
Okay.
see what's going to happen, and you never know, maybe make a in-person appearance.
Great. Cool.
That would be so cool. That'd be so much incentive.
You kind of wonder if, I don't know, maybe I should ask that question to Pat. Did Canadians like Adafruit?
Do Canadians like Adafruit?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, just the company name. It's like, Adafruit.
Adafruit. You know what I mean.
Oh, man.
I was watching a show, Rural Canada, and there was a guy on there, and he said A, and he said A just about every sentence. So I says, we should do a count on how many times he says it in the show. I was telling my wife, sometimes it was twice in a sentence.
Mm.
It sounds like it could be a college drinking game.
Yeah.
So that's about it for me. Otherwise, other than picking up another one of those little M.2 SD card or SSDs, solid state drives.
Yeah.
I picked up another one. I went to order another case that I had paid. I think I paid $23 for the case. The case was more expensive than the hard drive in it. But now they want $40 Canadian, and I said, no way, I'm going to pay that for it.
Yeah. I just saw. I just saw a Raspberry 4 case that's. I think it was like $45. And I was just thinking to myself, whoa, that's expensive. But it had one neat feature. Is John on? Yeah, John's here. They had one button on it that you could program whatever which way you wanted to. So it was kind of cool. Otherwise, it's not just a case. Well, it is just a case, but it was fanless, so they had to make a little bit of work there. But it actually had a built-in button on the case so that it would have done the power shutdown, headless shutdown without any issue. I don't know if it had LED. I didn't, the price kind of turned me off. So, but that's kind of an interesting idea, is if you could make your case that had those functionalities built into the case, might make things more compact. So I still need to get with you, John, on how to straighten that out. I never did get it so that it would run an application, but I'd like to get that with you.
What are you talking to me about the board? Yeah.
Yeah. I never did. I got it to where it was shut down with no problem, but I never could get. I couldn't get it to run. Couldn't get it to run what I needed to run for my Oak D light. And that's what I really wanted to do, was run the Oak D light just by pushing a button. And then I wouldn't have to, that would eliminate where I'd have to turn it on before I go up to the course. I could just go up there and push a button and it would turn on. Part of the
Well, either email me and I'll make some suggestions, or we can get together some other way, maybe in a future.
Yeah, probably not here at Christmas, but somewhere around there. Need to
if you set it up in advance for one of the DPRG meetings, we could probably just go through a couple of issues real quick without dragging the whole meeting down too much.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's an idea.
Did anybody see the announcement for the Raspberry Pi 5?
No. Does it come out?
I think it's supposed to next year.
No. Okay. Well, it kind of makes sense since you couldn't get a 4. You know, you might have.
Just make a new number.
Just skip the generation.
Yeah.
Well,
I think what I read today said not 2023. They're concentrating on the Raspberry Pi 4s for the end of 2023 and then possibly into 2024 for the Raspberry Pi 5.
Yeah.
Oh, 2024. Okay. Yeah.
I will say this.
It's 23.
I've been, when I was using the Articam, I was doing it on a 3B or 3B plus or whatever it is. God, that's bad compared to a 4. A 4 is just so much nicer. It's just, whew.
Well, I got
Imagine how people were happy with the original Pi, right? We're so spoiled that you just can't put up with the slow stuff anymore.
No.
Carl, I got a technical question to put on the queue.
Put it out.
Yeah. Let me share here.
After that, I was just going to start asking to see what people they're thinking to build next year.
All right. So you see, what I've been using for that's Halloween Skull project is this Neural Compute Stick 2 that they have discontinued. This is a Movidius VPU. All right. And so what I'm looking to do is to find an easy alternative. And I don't want to go with an OAK light because I want to use a Raspberry Pi camera because it's really small, and it can fit into the skull. And I mean, this is how easy it is to use the compute stick with OpenCV and this CAFI model for detecting faces. It's only a few lines of coding here, where you import the model. Do a couple of settings for OpenCV, then open your video stream to the Pi camera, and then eventually grab a frame and then do this OpenCV DNM call a blob from image. So, and then set from blob, and then from there you work on this detections object. So what I'd like to be able to do is if there's any product out there that is an easy replacement that I don't have to do a lot of relearning on how to write a program to do this. I want to be able to just reuse the CAFI model that I have and plug in another accelerator, another USB accelerator with a VPU. So does anybody know of an ideal product to do that with?
I do have a question, John. You said they stopped the neural network stick.
Yeah, they're no longer selling the Neural Compute Stick 2.
Yeah, have they got a new one? Because I've been getting a lot of email from Intel lately.
Well, I was looking, and what they do is. Where was it? I had an article here, and they're saying they discontinued it, and they're making this transition to this Intel Edge AI box for video analytics. And I went and tried to look at this link here, which doesn't give you a very good description of the hardware. So you have to kind of do a little web search here.
Any images?
John, I have a theory on this, by the way.
And what it looks like is it got basically they're going way overboard on the hardware that I want to replace. I just want something that does what the Compute Stick 2 did without a lot of extra expense, without a lot of extra features. Just want to replace it.
So, John, the theory that I have sort of watched on and off over the years, 10, 20 years, I think what happens is that Intel, got to remember that they're a chip vendor, right? And what they seem to do is that they make these consumer focused, let's drum up a lot of excitement kits for their latest chip generations and such. And I saw it happen with these, like this USB microscope that they made for kids back in the Windows XP days. And it had a SPY kind of a voice changer, and they lasted for a few years, and then they canceled it. And then there was the Edison, right? They did the whole Edison series of processors, made that available, and now you see these Movidius. So I'm willing to bet that they do it to drum up excitement and build interest, and then move on to the next chipset generation. So my bet is that that's where you got to find somebody that's taken. If you like the Movidius, you got to find some vendor that's incorporated it into something, a form factor that you like. And what I did here is I put a link into the chat. So a handful of us back in the day, when they first came out, got the Google AIY Vision Kit, and those have in them a bonnet with a Movidius chip on it.
Yeah, but that's Neural Stick 1. And they stopped support of that in OpenVINU about a year ago. Now you can use an old version of the model still, and that's still viable. You can do that. But that's this Neural Stick 2 is like at least 2x more, and I think it's closer to 3x faster. So yeah, that's you have to use, I want to say, late 2021 model, I believe, to be able to use that one.
Yeah, matter of fact, I bought and returned the Neural Compute Stick 1 because it wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
Looks like
I realized I needed Neural Compute Stick 2.
Yeah.
But now you can't even get those.
Looks like I left a 0 connected to this thing. I never pulled it out of there. A Raspberry Pi 0.
Yeah, mine's still sitting there with the original joy detector.
Yeah. Well, like I say, you can still use that.
Yep.
It's not a bad for what it does. It's just you just have to use the further away you get from the newest edge, the harder, more things that you can't do with. Well, I shouldn't say that. It can do anything that it could do in the end of 2021. So that's, it's not horrible. So.
Now, they kind of force you to keep up with the technology. It's just a shame that you have to relearn things, every couple of years, just to keep doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks like I pulled the camera out of it. But,
if I remember right, the bonnet used a specific camera too. It had to be a version 2 or something like that.
It wasn't hard to find in the day, but
yeah.
Yep.
The one thing I really liked about it was it had that cool macro telephoto lens that had a little magnet ring on it, and you glued the washer to the box, and it popped onto the front of it. That was really cool.
You can get those like little microscope kits for your phone these days.
Yeah.
Same deal, where you put a little adhesive ring around your camera lens, and then you can pop on different focal length adapter lenses.
Actually, I did find one possible alternative here.
What was that?
Let's show this again. But it's not available yet. It's this OpenMCC NCB, and it uses a Movidius MyriadX VPU.
There's the
But it's not available yet.
Yeah.
Well, just for grins, look up, John, look up an oak, just an oak, and see what they cost now. Yeah.
So camera, or
Yeah, oak camera, I guess.
remember, I don't want the camera.
No, I understand. I'm just curious.
Just OD or
No, not. I don't think an oak D is like an oak D light.
oh, okay.
It's just an oak. It might be that oak one. Go and see what that is.
This guy right here.
No, up a few. Oh, go up a couple. One more.
Oh, this.
Oh,
Well,
oh,
if you don't,
one-
if you don't want to change anything, John, just leave the neural compute stick in there, and you're all set, right? You don't have to change anything.
Yeah, but
no. The problem is that I've got two skulls and I've only got one stick, but I can't buy another stick anymore.
eBay, maybe.
Try
You know,
AliExpress. I just searched AliExpress.
That's too expensive. Oh, why would they get that? I can't imagine they can get that one.
well, the nice thing about this Open NCCNCB is it's exactly what I need. It's got the VPU in it. It's got a USB interface, and it doesn't include the camera.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect replacement for what I have, but it's just not available yet.
Do you know what it's going to cost?
I have no idea. Let's see. Not been released yet. Will be available via crowd supply. Oh, well, no, that's how much it raised.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Available for pre-order, $134.
Okay.
So it's pretty pricey for
Yeah.
as a replacement. But
Yeah.
although I don't remember what that compute stick cost me, it wasn't cheap either.
Yeah, it was no. They were only about $79.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it was a bit more, obviously.
Yeah.
eBay.
So what? Yeah,
That's right.
eBay is probably. Yeah, you have to be careful though because you don't want to get a one. eBay is really, really hard to get things back, generally speaking. What about AliExpress? Do they have them?
I saw some listed there on the link I put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe some vendors. Mauser, Newitt, some of the other ones they might have them too.
Yeah, they're like Neural Compute Stick 2. It says new. How could it be new? It's actually old. Unless I guess it's a new knockoff.
New in box, never
New
sold.
in box.
Oh,
yeah,
new
there you
and
go.
yeah, because it's
New
not
old
used,
stock.
is what they're saying.
Yeah.
But for $159.
Ouch. Well,
Well, but here's another one for only $63. Sure. I mean, yeah, that's an option.
If you don't want to wait and you're willing to take a gamble. Well, I wish we could be more help, John.
No, that's sufficient. I mean, like I said, it's a matter of keeping up with the technology. Like for one thing, that security camera that I've got on my mailbox that runs the Motion app. The problem with it is I'm using the camera that I'm using, and there's a third-party camera that has all the features I need on it, but it's not a Pi camera. It is an Arcam camera, and they are, I believe they're phasing out. They have, with let's say Bullseye, they completely reworked the camera stack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the cameras that Articam was selling that had these features on them that I needed, they have changed them to where they only run under Bullseye. They don't work on Buster. The problem is that some of the software I'm using for the Open ALPR license plate reader, not available under Bullseye. So basically, I got and I'm not building any new cameras. I'm just, I just got an existing system that works, and I can maintain it. But I'm forced to use Buster, an older OS, and had to order a special camera from Articam as well. So it gets difficult having to keep up with the technical changes as they start retiring products and forcing you into new OSs, new hardware and whatnot.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was really upset when they did that with the new software, because they really, they had all of these. Their old camera stack had thousands and thousands of examples of code that you could use, and they just killed it when they did that. And nobody had, at least when I last looked at it, had really gotten a good OpenCV library for the new stack yet. Now that may be I'm sure they were working on it. You might want to revisit that and see if they've got. It might be just importing a different library is all you have to do. So,
Well, the Open ALPR that I'm using is it's free, but it's very old.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what it would take to get basically a replacement for that runs under Bullseye.
Mm.
So will any of those old cameras work with Raspberry Pi anymore with Bullseye?
Yeah, they'll work. They'll all work.
The Pi cameras, the official Pi cameras, they work under Buster and Bullseye.
Oh,
But
they do. Okay.
there are changes to the interface that are not compatible with some of these third-party cameras, like ones that Articam sells.
Oh, okay.
They're not official Raspberry Pi cameras. There are some hardware and software or firmware differences in there that won't allow them to be backwards compatible.
I can't remember what they called them, but there was there used to be a routine that allowed you to take video and a routine that allowed you to take still. Those
RaspiCam.
Yeah, RaspiCam.
They don't work anymore. Well,
you can't use, they have replacements for those, but you can't use those anymore under Bullseye.
Actually, you can. You can bring them in, but you're kind of on your own.
They don't. I've tried that. They don't entirely work They don't work with those third-party cameras I was talking about.
Yeah.
You can load the old camera stack and try to use those, try to use that API, but you still got the same problem with the hardware compatibility. So yeah, they really, I understand they had some good reasons for redoing the camera stack.
Yeah, supposedly it opens it up.
It's just the transition for hobbyists is painful.
Yeah.
Because now everybody has to write new stuff.
Oh well.
So much for long-lived APIs, huh?
Well, what do you think? Pat linked it into the list. Did you see the new Adacam SPI camera, spy camera that they, that's they have a 3 megapixel and a 5 megapixel, and the 5 megapixel has autofocus in it. So for something like your application where you're trying to look at license plate, probably be fine.
So when you say spy case, it uses an SPI interface?
Yes.
For what?
The camera. The cameras are just serial, on SPI. So Anyway,
well, I guess the SPI interface runs pretty fast. It's not like a I2C. So.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got to process that stream, so not so
Well,
easy.
they're coming out. It's gonna. They're doing it at a HAL level, and supposedly, I mean, they have videos of it working on Arduino and what's the one, the Wi-Fi one, and then the
ESP32.
Yeah, the Pico, the ESP32. They have it working on the Pico, and they have it working on several other ones. The intent of that camera is to have a universal camera. Otherwise, you just hook up any processor, you can just put it on the SPI bus and it'll work. Now, obviously, I don't know if that's Python. It might be LC, but
Probably not an Uno or a Mega or any of those, though.
Oh, and
no, actually, yeah, they use it. They have examples of it being used there because there's SPI buses.
Really?
Yeah, there's SPI buses on.
Well,
those.
they're probably not sending the video across the SPI bus, just commands.
Possibly, yeah.
You're not going to pump the video into an Arduino, right? You can.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
You
so.
can have an API. You can have API calls happening on the Arduino.
Yeah, and I don't know if all of you know this, but the Raspberry Pi actually has two SPI interfaces. You just have to configure the second interface to use it. You don't see it you look at the Raspberry Pi pinouts and you see their SPI 0 connections are designated in the pinouts. When you turn on the other SPI interface, you can use some alternate pins for the other SPI interface. I'm using it with these RF modules, and I've actually got it working to some extent. I've got a Raspberry Pi over here with two of these RF modules and one over there with two modules. And so I'm using, one channel for transmit and then the other channel coming back to receive. So I've got two completely separate interfaces so that I don't have to keep switching the module back and forth between transmit and receive, and then possibly lose something while I'm switching. But I got some work to do on it before I can make it robust. It does go about twice as fast as the single channel solution that I had, but it still takes me a little over a minute to send a decent sized image file. So it's not going to get really fast in that respect.
There's one thing, John, that I've always wondered when you showed us your camera outfit, and I can't recall how it was mounted in the yard. How is it mounted in the yard?
In the yard?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a nice view of your road somehow.
Now I'll show you.
He stands on a 12-foot skeleton.
With a talking skull, right?
That's right.
No, you're talking about the security camera.
Yeah. Just curious of how it's mounted so that it gets those nice pictures of the yard.
Of the street, really.
Yeah, of the street. Yeah.
That's how I do it. It basically.
So that's your mailbox?
Yeah, that's my mailbox, and I've just got some concrete screws there and 3D printed a mount that will fit against the mailbox. And it's pretty much looking north up the street. This is right next to the curb.
And you never had anybody come over and give it a couple of baseball whacks?
No, nobody's messed with it. And if you look closely, you see on the bottom, I've got this little combination lock. It's got a 3D printed screw that goes through from the top to the bottom that has a little hole in the bottom of where the nut is, and then that lock goes through the nut, so nobody can even take it off. They'd have to struggle to get it off of there, but if they wanted to destroy it, yeah, sure, hit it with a baseball bat, you could destroy it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. And the cord is power?
Yeah, that's power coming in from a
low voltage transformer.
Yeah, it's just one of these. Let's see. I've got all the materials here. There we go. It's this
A gate opener
lighting,
bar or
outdoor
something?
lighting transformer.
Or lighting transformer, yeah.
Yeah, so like
13
for
volt.
yard lights. Yeah, I actually have one of those.
And then it's Wi-Fi to the house. So I'm not running, I'm only running power out to the box.
Yeah, they used to have those brick column mailboxes in Capel, and sometimes Halloween or a new driver would accidentally take a few out.
Yeah, my next door neighbor's got taken out that way.
Wham!
Yeah, they're not very strong laterally.
No.
You know,
There's some of the interior there. So I've got the HQ camera there, and infrared emitter on the top, illuminator that is.
Mhm.
There's an ambient light sensor, so I measure the amount of light to determine whether or not I need to turn on the infrared and switch the filter in the camera, but the infrared filter out. And then there's a Pi Zero down here, which is actually replaced. This is an old setup that's a Pi Zero 2 now.
So that's one of their high quality cameras.
Yeah, that's the 12 megapixel HQ camera, a third party camera from Articam, the one that I got to use with Buster. I'm using it because it's got the switchable IR filter in it.
Yeah, it's got a filter switch in it to go back and forth. I guess one's like I think either an all, but they call it an all stop. So it kind of cuts off anything IR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most cameras that they have out there have this little, just all it is on most of the cameras is a little blue filter that blocks infrared and for daytime use. But if you want to be able to pick up the reflections from, or the illumination from this infrared illuminator that I built, you need to have one that switches that filter out, that takes the filter out of the view.
Okay. Yeah, that would probably work for me, unfortunately, because I have a next door neighbor who parks his cars all over right next to the mailbox. So I'd have a good picture of his bumper. That'd be about it.
You could mount it up high somehow.
Yeah, that would be nice. That's why I was kind of interested on how you did that. Because it's
Well,
Comes with a no parking sign on the street.
Nobody tends to park in front of my house, but there's a lot of custom stuff on there. That infrared illuminator is a custom job that I built with using KiCad. All the white you see in there is 3D printed parts that I designed. The infrared, the ambient light detector, that's also a KiCad design that I built.
Wasn't that built to read license plates?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's here. Let me show you something else.
Have you advanced in that since the last time you made a presentation on it? I knew you was having trouble with it.
Did I do a presentation on it?
Yeah.
I was doing a presentation on those skulls, maybe, but
no, you did a thing on the
halfway through COVID. Yeah, a year or two ago, you went through and gave us a good update on your system.
yeah, this is I've got the web server is running on a Pi 4 in the house, but the camera system is the Pi Zero out on the curb. So I do Wi-Fi, send the pictures to the house, and then I run this web server here. And most of these, it's not actually picking up a license plate, but you can see some of them. It's successful, like this one. That one nailed it. FKK 4992. That's exactly what's on the license plate. So it does a pretty good job under daytime conditions.
those nocturnal burglars that you really want to catch, though, right? Yeah.
But if you go to, if you go and look, let's see if we got any nighttime images that, let's go to 6 p.m. So here, yeah, it's a little fuzzy there. You know, there's the infrared is not, I mean, most license plates reflect infrared fairly well, but not all. So it's only got part of this one. And you can see that's actually kind of hard to see anyway. PIP 8. It sees the 2 Ps and maybe a 6 is an 8. So its performance during nighttime is debatable. Here's GIQ 21. Got the G. It's got the 21, but pretty much nothing else.
Still impressive.
But if there was no infrared turned on, you would not see any part of the car here. You'd only see the tail lights and the license plate. Well, the license plate on this car is illuminated. Sometimes you'll have a car pass by that doesn't have lights on his license plate, and it shows up really well. But when a fire truck goes by, you can really tell there's IFRS. Man, you get really, really bright reflections from all the reflective material on the fire truck.
Mhm.
Hmm.
John, do you know if it's been useful in actually solving any crimes? I know you occasionally donate images. Have you ever got feedback from them?
We did have one crime in the neighborhood, but it wasn't ideal. My camera caught the car, but the car was approaching from the far side of the street at night, so it could only barely see the license plate and it couldn't make out the license plate very well. Let's see if there were any emergency vehicles here. So I'm showing only the ones where it detected a plate now. Oh, here you go. Look at this. Yeah, that fire truck reflects infrared very well.
That's kind of cool.
That's a little weird. We're not going to see it.
See, and here's a non-illuminated plate. You can see he doesn't have a light illuminating his plate, and it shows up really well because this is infrared reflecting off the license plate.
That won't pass inspection, right? Got to have working license plate light. As far as I know.
think there is a license plate light to the left, but it's not very bright.
I think that's a reflection from a light somewhere. I don't think that's actually an illuminator. You could tell in some of these images. Let's see. We find another one. Let me turn this off and then show some nighttime images. No, that one's illuminated. Sometimes it triggers, motion. No, that's the same one we were just looking at. No, it's not. But maybe that is a light. I'm not sure.
You really started to track your neighbors' comings and goings.
Yeah, it picks up my neighbor across the street every single day because they pull out of their driveway and I get a whole bunch of frames of that one car. Trying to find one other good example of a highly reflective plate. Nope, not in that night. Let's see. Let's try the 18th. That one I think is illuminated. Yeah, it's illuminated. Here's somebody with some reflective material on their bumper.
Amazon. That's the Amazon truck.
So what does the toll road do? I mean, those cars are zipping by at 70 miles plus an hour, and
They're using a much more sophisticated system. and a lot better software. I think this software you're using is public domain software, right, John?
It's public domain, and it's like I said, the Open ALPR is very old now. So that's why
It flashes at the toll too, doesn't it flash?
I think it.
Yeah,
At least
it's a
the ones.
strobe.
Yeah, they'll put a giant, really bright strobe.
The interesting piece that's related to this is what they call the flock system, which is it's a pole that they put at the entrance to a neighborhood, and it's got a camera and a solar panel on it. Usually it's a black pole, and that's all that's on it, and it'll be at the entrance to a neighborhood. And that's actually what they used here in Grand Prairie to track down that bad flood, that fake plate where they had the officer that died a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And they're probably getting a couple of stolen vehicles caught in daily in Grand Prairie from that system.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you can tell by looking at the image that that's not normal illumination on that plate.
Oh, no, that's definitely IR.
Yeah, even if that was a dim light on one side, which I kind of doubt, it looks kind of like it's a reflection off the bumper. You can tell when it's reflecting infrared because it really stands out. Anyway, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Cool.
So if anybody did want to replicate the system, it is a bit of work.
Are you going to try and make it any better?
I've occasionally I go back to it as to see if I can improve it. But I think my real limitation right now is I would like to see somebody come out with another open source license plate reading package that will run that I can get on a 64-bit Pi 4 to get better performance. I mean, there are some improvements that I could make. Like, for example, it's kind of funny because anytime you get a license with a pronounced grill in the front that has a lot of vertical slots in the grill, it thinks that's a license plate, and it reads I, something like that. So there are things that I can do to kind of screen out those false positives, but that's kind of a minor improvement that I had in mind. Chris has raised a hand.
Yeah, I was just going to go next when you're done. That's all.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Cool. What do you got?
Well, so on Carl's note, right? So you were leading in and saying you wanted to talk about projects for next year, right?
Yeah. What's on your mind?
So it occurred to me that I haven't done any hardware design in a long time, any schematic design, this part of the brain I haven't tickled in a long time. And, on the keyboard of hoarding, because I was cleaning up my stockpile of 25 years of, collected things. And I was, rearranging things and organizing things. And I found this thing that I was, the last time I did any sort of significant or semi-significant sort of circuit design, since I'm not really a hardware person, but it was really around 25 years ago. And so that had me thinking, hey, you kind of need to sort of, try that again. I have, I just wanted to show that. Let's see how to do that. It's a window. So let's see.
It's a picture of bear skins and bone knives, you're saying? Really old stuff? No.
Now, so 25 years ago, as part of my college degree, what I did is, and it was robotics related actually. I was doing the the platform that other people would then use to, to build robots. And I designed this Motorola 68HC11 based microcontroller board, because back in that day, the HC11 was kind of the de facto processor. MIT was using it, right, with their handy board, and there's one other version of it that they had, and so on. So anyway, in the lab I was in, so we designed this, or I designed this, and it was kind of fun. It was painful because, again, I'm really more of a software person, but nonetheless, it was fun to design. It's a very simple thing, but a lot of thought went into it, and it's kind of fun to do. Right? There's this little memory expansion board on the left that connects to it in a very sort of compact fashion, and then this is meant to be stacking. So there's some stacking headers, and then we would stack, because we would not have enough I/O on one of them to control the sorts of robots that people were building in the lab, and so we would stack 3 of them and have some SPI communication between the 3, and so that was that. And so again, that occurred to me, I haven't done this sort of thing in gazillion years, and then maybe something to sort of try again. And I guess the topic would be, again, it would be more of an academic exercise, maybe, right? What would the ideal robot controller look like, right? It's a tough one, right? But I kind of would sort of start with sort of ideas what I've learned and seen in this Pololu 8-bit Atmel micro-based thing that I really liked a lot. It's just a little underpowered, but there's something about this sort of device that I found was really working out well. It had a lot of decent I/O, a lot of good sort of power distribution, little built-in display, and so on, a couple buttons, just kind of everything you need. And something like that, but more high-end, right, with more compute power in it. So I'm thinking maybe it would be probably a hat for the Raspberry Pi or something like that, right? I would need something that has enough compute in it, but then something that provides enough I/O, built-in motor drivers that just have enough current, to drive a medium-sized robot, right? Built-in ability to do quadrature decode, that sort of thing, all the basic I/O that you need. That Pololu is still good at making those things. In fact, they have a hat, which I've shown before, but it's not, I don't know, it somehow doesn't provide enough functionality. So I'm just thinking something along those lines might be a project I want to tackle. I'm not sure yet. It's just, again, just to sort of, exercise that skill, so to speak. But then I was thinking, okay, well, again, back in the day, this was all through-hole. This was all through-hole, right? Easy peasy.
No surface.
Can't do that anymore. So I was wondering if anybody has ever used a place where they actually assemble your PCB for you, or maybe at least the SMB part, right? Because there are obviously you can get your circuit boards made in 100 different places. And actually, back in the day, we used a place in Canada, AP Circuits or something it was called. That was our go-to place for making the PCBs. But nowadays, you can even get the boards that your prototype sort of assembled at places. I don't know if anybody's ever used that, and I'm not even sure how much it would cost. But even to just get the SMD parts pre-assembled, right, would be a big deal, because I can't do that anymore with my eyes. It's just, I don't think it's. So again, that's a thought. Do a little bit of hardware design, and was hoping if someone has any thoughts on how to get that done semi-cost effectively, right? I mean, it wouldn't be super cost effective. It'd be more for the fun of it, I think, because you always got to pay, a bit of a premium getting small number of boards made, especially if you want it quick, right?
Well, plus your time, but
yeah.
But the fun is worth something.
James LaCroix did a bunch of that stuff, but
yeah.
But he
Yeah,
used his own. Ron Grant. Those guys, they made their own SMD ovens, right? I mean, they followed. There's a bunch of projects out there where you can. They'll recommend even widely available toaster ovens, and
Black
then
and
they'll,
Decker.
they'll show you the mods to insulate them more uniformly and put controller circuits in to get the right temperatures. So there's a handful of guys in the club that have done that. I'm with you, Chris. I'm past the soldering stuff. If I was going to do hardware, I've been itching to come up with some excuse, because I don't need to, but some excuse to go.
Exactly. It's more of an excuse.
Yeah. And I was
Hasn't
thinking,
Doug-
I haven't done a flex circuit since 1995. So it would be cool to put get some flex circuits made and let someone else do the soldering and assemble it, and then, introduce flex circuits to DPRG. But excuse has
Did
been
Pat
strong.
Karen do that? Pat, did you do that?
Did I do flex circuits?
No, one of the PCB services. Did you use one recently?
Oh, years ago I had tried on one, but I got a couple circuit boards, and like you say, old eyes don't work. An oven, you need an oven, you need solder mask, you need all of this stuff to get them going. And there's a number of services out there. None come to mind right now, but they will give you a price on a board, as a prototype service, populated with parts if you want.
I think Ed put his name in there for one, but yeah, especially if you use that vendor's design tools, then their design tools include the parts that they commonly stock, so you can make it easier on yourself and theirself that way.
What is that OSH that we talked about here a while back?
OSHA Parker.
Yeah. What is that? What y'all are talking about?
Something like that.
Using a service like that?
Yeah, because some of those will not only make the circuit cards, but they'll procure the components and assemble the components. I mean, they're not going to.
JLPCB is like a big one.
Which one?
JLPCB, I've seen a lot of ads.
Mm-hmm.
JLC PCB, they do the circuit boards, but then they also have like a separate service to do assembly. The one comes to mind because I've seen lots of ads for it. But like it was said, right, there is many such places that do not just the boards, but also the assembly. But I don't even have a sense of, the order of magnitude of dollars we're talking here, right, to get just a handful of boards assembled. I just don't know if you're talking tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars, because if it's already hundreds of dollars for a little experiment, I don't know if I have a big enough excuse.
I think it was pretty reasonable. I mean,
They were starting
on something else you want that you don't really need. No.
Some PCBs were like $5 for 3.
Yeah, the board stuff is cheap, right? That gets dirt cheap, but getting them assembled with a couple components, that's what I was wondering how much that is.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Doug use one of those servers, Doug Paradis? I thought he did, but maybe not.
I don't know if he did, but Chris, you remember Ron Grant, who did that line following simulator? If you send him an email, I bet you he'll give you some references, because if anybody's looked at those options, he'd be on top of it. He does this stuff for his living, for consulting.
Good to know.
Calculating the boards, I think they needed like a quantity of 20 or something to do.
Doug, Doug Scott, you raised your hand?
Oh yeah, I just had a general inquiry. We're closer to the end, so. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm 40 and I'm going to try to start a journey in robotics now.
Cool.
So, I got a degree in a different direction, and that was kind of boring for a while. But I was sort of wondering if anybody had any insight, because I looked, I live in Plano, so there's a Collins College that has like a robotics certificate program to start off, but I don't know if anybody had any time to discuss like the right career path, especially since I'm, not a young, pliable mind as much, but I can still do some stuff, but because I've actually designed and built CNC machines up to 4x8, and worked with raspberries and all this stuff that you guys talk about is fascinating. So, I've dabbled in it, but I've never officially gone in that path. But it's just something that's been of interest to me. So just kind of wondering what kind of direction I should go in. I could also just do it as a hobby too.
Well, the thing is, none of us, I think, do it as a career, right? That's why we're doing it as a hobby. I wish it was a career, but it's not, right?
Paul.
Well, Bouchier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
Paul wrote simulators for some. What is it? It's like a warehouse fleet yard truck management system. So he wrote a simulator for these self-driving trucks to pick up trailers and move them around the shipyard.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of discussions on people that talk about, robots are really cool, and then when you try to commercialize it, right, you have to prove the utility is greater than the person you're replacing, and it has to be not just marginally better, it has to be 4x, 10x, right, in order for it to make sense. And I was watching the guy that the Roomba robots, and the leaps and bounds that they had to make to even make a little disc that goes around on the floor, to vacuum things up. The economy of scale that he was talking about was this huge endeavor, right? They had to get into injection molding and find a cheap camera, and then get into a power board that was big enough. You look at where robotics is now, it's a lot of people are familiar with the key machines and the cell phone drop off, at Walmart and that kind of stuff. And it's the glory of it is the Amazon robots and the Walmart, drones and that kind of thing. But I think there's an underbelly of it where it's starting with key machines at the grocery store and a cell phone robot, that just opens up a door and just does simple things. So it's there's a lot of different spectrums of it that I'm learning, and I thought, well, heck, it seems interesting enough. I'd like to try to go in that direction. But I listen to experts talk about the topic as a whole, and they're we're basically all at ground zero. The amount of science fiction that everybody portrays robots as is taking, and doing simple tasks for us is mind blowing when you actually try to engineer it in a consumer scale.
Well, I think it seems to me like you've touched on a really wide scope or domain right there. So, I mean, what part of the robotics field interests you that you think might be within reach?
Yeah, so I went retail, business management, and worked specifically in the cannabis industry as a director of training, and it's kind of fun for a while. But it's also it's a job just like anything else. But I had the luxury of we made it so far. We did training and development, built out a big training program. And we had tried to look at ways, because the employees in that space are worthless. They work, 3 days or whatever, and then they no-show.
They're all stoners, you're saying?
Yeah, somebody has to put, the product in the bottle. And we were running into problems because that job position is so low. And so it was fascinating. I had a meeting with some IBM engineers, and we were talking about hey, you have artificial intelligence. Can we program some robot arms to watch a conveyor belt and pick up stuff and put it in jars? And IBM was super fascinated with it. They were oh, we could just use a leg of Watson and start to look at things, and that whole automation picking photography of identification and stuff. That was just I was just in heaven. I was oh my God, I hope my employer does this, and then the market as a whole started to tank, and R&D, development sort of went on the wayside. But at least I got to talk to some engineers at IBM, and they were like, and I was the only one that they were shocked that, I contacted them, and because no one had, they were expecting the phone call at some point in time from that industry, that space, and and really there might be some, as I look into it more, the feasibility of developing even that as a bring to market project is, it sort of sits on the back of my mind. It'd be a really fun thing to do. It's have a robot literally picking and sorting and weighing and scales, and having humans involved downstream, and then trying to eliminate those humans. But that industry is really interesting. That as time goes on, the margins are getting thinner and thinner, and so like you have to start looking at automation, and that space really was sort of evolving, and I was kind of on an organic path to figure out solutions to.
So out of curiosity, what is your background and your current skill sets?
Oh, I have a degree in business admin. So I got a degree from UNC in Greeley, Colorado. It's outside of Denver.
So do you have any technical expertise on the side?
Not formally, no. I've got I design and build 3D printers from scratch. I self-taught myself in SketchUp. That's where I started designing my own 3D printers because everything on the market, they wouldn't print in ABS plastics or these really high thermoplastics that require a lot of heat.
Yeah. So
everything
and modeling is among your skill sets.
Yeah, sure. That's one of them. I started taking 3D printers and trying to put them into boxes because I was like warping parts. I didn't know any better. And then over time, everything was like melting, and boards were frying, and steppers were, smoking. And so, over the course of 6 years, I finally designed something, and, then the original use case of it just kind of, I didn't need it anymore. But along the way, I learned how to like laser engrave and do a CNC, and I built like a big 4x8 CNC. That was kind of fun, and built my own like controller for it. Used big stepper drivers and stuff. And
that's a start.
Yeah, I mean it's a start. I mean it's not much, but
it's enough.
Yeah, I mean for someone that didn't get or have to do it as a school project, I mean it takes some kind of self-drive to pull that off. Watch your YouTube videos to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
not everybody can do that.
Yeah, well, I started I made wall decor and started building mostly printed CNC machines. They were popular at the time, so I was like building a lot of those things, and I was like, my God, these things are so cheap. I can just build an army of them. And so I built an army, and then got into like this big wood shop, and started just producing just massive amounts of wall decor and shipping it all over the United States and selling it locally. And I got a featured artist out of it and a whole bunch of other things. But I started realizing that there's power in making machines, and then doing other sorts of things. And I was like, after a while, I was like, it's kind of stupid to go in business admin. I should have become an engineer and done all that other stuff, but.
You could call the bud sorting machine, the Bud Picker 2000. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Right.
they were saying their Watson robot was sophisticated enough it could like it could look for lint and hair, and it could also identify disease too, which it's a heavily regulated industry, right? And so you have like a government agency that controls all the health specifications. So like you can't have any mold. In fact, they hold it to unrealistic levels for mold inspection and pathogens and stuff. But by introducing a human, you actually run the risk of contaminating and then shutting your licenses down. So the attraction of a large, and as cannabis retailers, they sort of conglomerate. less hands in the actual like production of the product is a bonus, because as you get bigger, your threat to yourself actually increases, because you can fail at one facility and then your entire organization kind of can collapse, and then you lose your cash flow. And so you'd think as an economy of scale, as you get bigger, you become stronger, but as you become bigger, your threats actually increase, to yourself. So it's a wild game to balance. But after a while, I was like, I want to like die on my deathbed, like, saying, I sold tons of weed, literally tons of weed. It's like I helped move so much weed. It's like, that's not really a claim to fame. There's drug dealers that are out there doing that. So, but
Especially when
I
it's legal.
a business standpoint, and like, a very serious, and I climbed all the way up through the ranks, and did pretty well, there. So, and then moved to Texas, and I was like, I'm done with it. I don't want to do it anymore. So I moved to Texas, started over.
No weed in Texas. That's for sure.
No, it's very legal. I still have Colorado plates on my car, and I get followed by police officers all over the place.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I've turned 6 times. You're still on my tail. Like, time to get Texas plates. But
They don't want you bringing product across the border.
Right.
One thing to keep in mind is that the technical stuff, I mean, there's so many, to my way of thinking, there's so many different rabbit holes of the technical side.
Yeah.
That, and each one of them is literally a rabbit hole that people spend their careers, get PhDs. So, there's the guys that do computer vision very well. There's the guys that do the mechanics very well, the guys that do motors and actuators very well, the guys that know material science, material handling, the guys that know how to do circuit cards. And those are there's so many different specialties that, from what I'm hearing, like the way you described what you've done with the CNC printers and whatnot, is that you've got a kind of a knack for the higher level view, where you can look at these different technologies and mix and match them together like erector sets or something, and get them to do what you want, or at least know what to ask for.
Yeah, one of the things I've thought about doing is trying to bring like 3D printed parts to market. And so there's a company in, I think it's Italy, that makes a steel belt for a 3D printer. And so you print on it at high heat, right? And no one's mastered that. They all make the stupid rubber belts, and PLA only gets you so far. Like, put a PLA part in a car on a hot August day and it's toast, right? And so I mastered the higher thermoplastics, but I was thinking about like getting these roller kits and just having them print off like L brackets and filling buckets up and going to an Ace Hardware and saying like, here's just a bunch of random parts that I know people come in and ask for because they're always doing projects, It's
Yeah,
like,
but I've thought about, I've seen people try to do that, and I think the big problem is it takes so incredibly long to print just a single part.
yeah,
It's hard to make it worthwhile, because how much are people going to pay you for that?
yeah,
It's
Right,
a cost versus time problem there.
yeah. And you look at like, so I bought a bunch of like 1 millimeter nozzles, some huge nozzles, right? And so like, if you do that, you can create like parts in minutes, and they're not like super clean, but they're crazy strong. And your print times, go radically down over like a 0.4 nozzle. And so that's what I was like trying to gear towards, is like a bigger nozzle size. And by doing that, I found I could do like volume scale of parts. Because at one point in time, I had met with this engineer, and he said, if you could make like a wall structure, like a 4x8 building material that had a vacuum in it, you'd be a millionaire. So I started to make a honeycomb wall and put a membrane over it and tried to put a vacuum into it. And so I was like, well, I need a lot of these honeycombs. So I made a whole bunch of honeycombs on this like 3D printer with an arm that would like knock the part off and then shove it off with a servo. And then I started making sheets of honeycomb with a membrane and putting a vacuum to it. And so I was thinking, oh, the RV, community could maybe use this to, insulate RVs and stuff as a new building material. I was trying to make a new building material. I don't know. I was just,
Well, once again, you've got a huge capital investment.
oh yeah,
Even if you can get the print time down to minutes, it's a question of how much volume can you produce and what are people willing to pay.
yeah.
And I don't
And
think
how do you,
unless you find something really specialized, I don't think people are willing to pay the kind of money you're going to want to make it worthwhile.
and then you want to put some kind of moat around it with IP so that someone just can't say, oh, that's a great idea. I'll use my huge commercial volume printers and just run. I don't care about this guy.
Yeah.
Put 'em out of business. Yeah.
Yeah. The idea was like, hit it with like volume. And it sort of makes sense on paper. I've done some other weirder things. Like I got in a patent battle before, so I'm familiar with like, I tried to develop like way back in the day, I tried to make a laser that would shine on the ground, and then as your cat or dog would play with it, it would like detect it and move around, and took it to a lawyer and we wrote it out and got in a patent battle with the company. And so I've learned not even to patent things or it's just, you just try to bring it to market and see what happens. But I mean, it's a good thought though, right? John, is like your time to produce, and so it'd have to be just running without any human interaction, just all day, like and then you look at electricity costs and stuff like that too. So it's tricky because I have a business background, so I'm always approaching things as like, does it make money? Does it cause utility? Rather than like, can I write the software? Can I do the hardware? Can I, solve the problem? And so I've got just a different lens to it. But my interest is still in automation and robotics and stuff.
Yeah, as far as education, I think this group is we're kind of past the education stage. I don't know that any of us are going to go back to the university anytime soon.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We wouldn't know about programs that or I wouldn't think we would, not unless our children or.
Right. I know. I try to think about going back at 40, and it's like, good God, like I remember college back in.
Well, it's funny is occasionally on the Raspberry Pi forum on Facebook, occasionally you see somebody saying, hey, I'll pay somebody to write some software for me, but I'm kind of skeptical as to is whether that's going to be worth it. But
yeah. Yeah, and I started looking at like, could I like hire, guys that know robotics, but then I need to know where to point them, right? I mean, I could start a robotics company. It's not that hard. You just register it with the state of Texas. But I'm gonna at least start at Collins College and try to get like a entry to robotics, and I'll probably like be servicing like I don't know, like yogurt machines or something simple,
Well, I mean, that's probably a good way to get hands-on at another level than you've seen with the CNCs, right? So
yeah. And
there's probably a wider range of concepts that would be useful to be aware of and know where to look.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little diversion and off topic. So I apologize about that. But
yeah, everybody you see here is pretty much building one of projects, Although I did collaborate with a couple of with one other DPRG member and another person to design a motor driver board that you could run MicroPython on, RP2040 based board, because nobody seemed to be selling a board that met those needs. So and the guy with one of the guys in our group, we did just basically what do you call that license? Creative Commons. We just did Creative Commons.
Open source.
And one of the guys, he actually he's built them and he actually sells them on what's that website from makers? What's that?
Is it Tindy or Etsy?
Tinsy?
Tindy,
Tindy,
Tindae.
yeah. He actually sells those boards on Tindy now. It doesn't make a whole lot, I'm sure, but that's one avenue.
Yeah.
Or you could just do it for fun, like you said earlier. Because
Yeah, I've got like an old
take
project.
something. For me, all my life, if I took something that I had fun and then turn it into a job, then it ended up not being fun anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. I've got a neat project that where I was taking like an HP 45 inkjet cartridge and hacking it with a driver board and some other components. Because I built my own UV printer. That was kind of fun, a UV inkjet printer. Had some fun with that, and I was making money selling little prints and stuff on substrates that normally weren't, you wouldn't print on. I've been all over the place, but it's funny because you guys, as you're talking, like I'm like, oh, that's kind of familiar, and that's, I kind of recognize that. So the vision acuity stuff, that's really fascinating. Where you've got like cameras that are actually interpreting, their environment.
OCR, optical character recognition. OCR.
Yeah. We've been having fun with that around the club the last few years.
Yeah, you got what's the can contest or whatever, the 6 can? What is that about?
Can. So it looks like we'll run that in May. It's not like there was enough interest tonight, and we normally do anyhow around May, but it's basically a contest where there's an arena with cans like what Ray's holding up. It's just an empty soda can with orange duct tape.
Yep.
And the arena is what, like 8 feet by 10 or something?
7 by 10.
7 by 10. And you put 6 of those cans in, and there's like a goal area at each end. And the idea is you put your robot down, push a button, and then it has to find the cans and take them to the goal by itself.
Oh, that's
cool. his platform.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's a good exercise, and that's what a lot of us do is pick some crazy target like that just to stretch our skills.
Yep. So this one's got a gripper for the can, and
this is a motor driver. This is a motor driver board that we collaboratively designed that this guy sells now.
Oh, okay.
Motors on the bottom.
And it has to do this all autonomously. Like you just put the switch on, and it just has to.
It goes, yeah.
And the cans, are they different colors? And
all orange.
All orange.
All orange. So you could just say isolate to one color.
Some people do that. I think didn't Dave Anderson just use sonar? He didn't even use a camera.
What are y'all looking at?
We're
the 6
about
can sucker.
Is it on the message board?
No,
I don't see it presented.
We're not presenting.
Oh.
Is there's like I'm assuming the calendar goes, I could probably attend a can guiding event. I'm not going to be able to participate. There's no way in 3 months I'll be, no idea what I'm doing, but that'd be kind of fun to witness, at least at the minimum.
Yeah, they're open to the public. So if you keep an eye on the website, I just posted the link. It'll be listed in there. And
this is a servo-driven can grabber, 3D printed.
Oh, that's cool.
We attach on the front of the robot, so the can, just fits in there. You can kind of grab
that's
it.
Awesome.
So
you get to try to design it right in a virtual environment, and then try to put it together, and then curse at it a little bit as it doesn't go together quite well, and then off it goes, and that's kind of neat, actually. I like that.
Are you using a Metal Gear micro servo for that claw?
No, just a plastic gear. One of those.
Not a whole lot of torque on that, huh?
Yeah, but it's an empty aluminum can. You don't need to. Not like you're picking up a car or anything. Yeah, whatever those standard ones were. No, of course, this one doesn't have it written on it. Whatever 90.
SG95s.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the ones you can get for really, really, really cheap.
Cheap. Yeah.
Have you had any luck with those?
Oh yeah, that's what I've used for a can gripper for forever, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I have in the front for my can gripper is one of those little cheap. I don't know. I think I paid like $20 for 10 of them or something.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
SG90. Yeah.
Yeah, SG90s.
That's very cool.
They're easy to break though. I know from experience.
Well, that's why they sell them for 10 of them at a time.
Well, they've got, they're limited travel. You can precisely position because they're servos, but they're not continuous rotation servos. So they got this little plastic gears and they've got a little plastic stop in there. And if you force it at all, it'll break that little tab off inside the gearbox.
Yep.
I've done that to at least 3 of them.
I like the part that says, like, if your robot is deemed unsafe, like, it'll be pulled from competition.
Yeah, that's usually not the concern with this club. Usually the concern is, will it run when you turn it on? Or will it fall apart on the way to the can? That's usually.
Yeah.
They won't let me build my 150-pound robot for the outdoor competition.
I would support that totally.
60-pound weight limit.
It'd be a fun thing. I wonder if I could go from ground zero to cans in like a year or so.
Yeah.
Put your mind to it. Yeah.
It would be a good idea if you're considering a career in robotics. Give it a try, because you'll invest whatever. Let's say $500 into a robot to try to do a competition, $300, whatever. And you're working on hardware, electrical, mechanical, electronics, all of it, and to design a robot that's going to do this for you.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
There have been several people that have, let's say, wet their teeth and sharpened their game with some of the literally the DPRG contests and projects, and they've parlayed it into a career move.
Really?
Yeah.
For the hardware, you probably don't need a whole lot of experience for the hardware. You're just kind of a systems integrator, but it's almost certainly going to require you to learn a programming language.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's always best to kind of get forced into something, like, because if you sit down and you open up a book, it's like so boring. It's like if there's not a purpose behind it.
And that's where we have, okay, here's the full list of rules I'll put in chat, because there's a bunch of different contests, and there's kind of a progression of contests. So from really just getting started to, much more complicated. And along the way, they're good little targets. Then you can feel good about making progress when you can conquer one contest or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably the biggest robot this group has done is Kareem's excavator. Yeah.
Regardless of size,
Some interesting stuff out there. Somebody had, I don't know if it was 6 months ago or so, on micro maze robots. And they follow, I forget how big this is, 40 feet or something. It's like a line following robot, but it's like a 40-foot long track. And they're doing this track in like under 10 seconds.
I've seen that. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, some of the Japanese competitions, that thing it's almost a blur in the video. It's moving so fast.
Yeah, it does seem like more of the extreme video clips are definitely not from U.S. soil. It's like other countries seem to be like more advanced for some of things.
There's
It's just
certainly
that the U.S. has been quiet about our supersonic missiles.
There certainly seems to be a lot more interest in STEM in the Asian countries.
Sure. You guys do this line challenge too, this line following thing?
Yep, got several courses.
Okay, cool.
Do you have, Carl, do you have a link to the video of the competition y'all did about want to say about 5 years back.
I'd have to find it on clips.
In the archive, yeah.
Is it on the website if you search for it?
DPRG clip on YouTube. Yeah, DPRG clips is the easiest way to find it, I think. And Doug might know where it is on the website, but
Yeah, that was around my first introduction to DPRG. That was fun.
yeah.
I watched. I didn't participate. I was watching, but it's pretty cool.
Here we go.
Wow.
Here, I'll try and find this this channel. This is a good one to yeah, this is a good channel to subscribe to on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of our sponsors too have platforms. I mean, you don't have to build one from scratch. In fact, you could probably make significant advancement if you didn't, because those companies have already put together.
Yeah, there's a lot of good components you can buy and integrate.
Yep.
If you just know where to look and you have some kind of competence with mechatronics and software.
And the club at one time made a group robot that you still got the STL files and stuff on the club website.
Yeah.
And I went to that. I built one of them club robot. There it is, right there.
The bottom part from here on down.
Yeah, the bottom part.
I added the top part.
That's
This
the
is-
line follower.
Oh,
That
this
club
one,
robot was made to do all kinds of things. It was kind of multi-purpose.
yep, not just the one competition. This is from one of our supporters from a company called Polulu, and they make a system with they've already picked out motor drivers. They've got a battery pack in it. They've got this one is the 32U4 Arduino processor, but you can put all kinds of things on it. Like I use this one for line following. I had an OpenMV H7 camera system on it. This is one of the time of flight sensors I was just experimenting with. You can put a small LCD, but you get much more out of those, the simple OLED displays as far as, characters and graphics.
Sure.
You could put a Raspberry Pi on this control board and control the whole platform with a Raspberry Pi if you wanted to. But it's got kind of the basics, the motors that are powerful enough to push it along at a decent speed.